So you've most likely experienced this here too. You're starting to step out of an old way of how you used to operate, maybe an old habit, an old identity you used to hold. And you feel how you're starting to take the steps out of it, but then you notice something is still attached to you. Something is still kind of holding you back into that old way. And then in one moment, it just pulls you back down. And it's like you're being pulled down underwater, and then you get panic. You get panic in a way because you think you've overcome that old way. You think you've outgrown it, but yet here it is still affecting you. And with that feeling, then it starts to spiral you down even more like a whirlpool in some ways. And with that, the more you panic and the more you get caught up in this old pattern. Now, for many, this can be different things. It can be, for example, certain behaviors you used to have. That something just suddenly triggers it, and then you find yourself back into it, and then one thing leads to the other, and it just keeps spiraling down. And I get how it is. I used to experience this too with some things. I really get how it is. But what I found to help with this, to not let the old things pull one down anymore and to fully actually step out of that old way of self, it has really been impactful in that way for me. And also, it's not the typical advice you usually hear. So, in this video, I'm going to be going more into depth about that, sharing a bit of my experience so you can kind of get a better picture. And also, of course, what is the origin and how can you apply it in your life? And if you're interested in working together so as well, and you want to take that step in your life to see how can you kind of get a hold of these things in progress and step into a new version of you, then down below you can find my link in the description and you can find a fitting time for you. But either way, so it's an interesting phenomenon when it happens, you know. I had it so many times where I get pulled into this old story again. I thought I got out of it. I thought, I no longer need to be seeking validation from people or trying to prove myself in a certain way, or even falling into certain temptations like maybe smoking or so. Yet, there are just those moments where it pulls you back down and then you catch yourself into it. And because you catch yourself back into it, it makes you panic. It's like you're aware you're not supposed to be in this right now. And because of that, you start to panic even more and more. And instead, it keeps pulling you down. And the worst thing that can happen in this case, and this is what many people do, is they guilt themselves. They put so much shame on them when they fall into this old pattern that it becomes a fear. It becomes a fear to make a mistake, that when you do mess up, you put so much pressure onto you that the temptations get louder and stronger and more impactful. So it, in the end, pulls you further down. So the first thing that helped for me is to stop putting so much shame on myself when I do fall. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We all have our experiences. Now, this doesn't mean don't take accountability, but also taking accountability sometimes means being honest with yourself. If you do fall, brush yourself off, see why did you fall in the first place, and what can you do better next time to prevent from falling. Because when you start to approach it this way, you're no longer feeding that egoic voice in your mind telling you you're not good enough or you messed up, and then it puts this pressure onto you. But you're now more in a state of peace, of acceptance in a way. Acceptance in a way of where you are surrendered. And this puts you naturally in a higher state of consciousness as well, which allows you to then make better decisions and have better ways of thought. This is what I noticed. When one is so much in this low vibrational state, in this lower energy, you start to have more of these intrusive negative thoughts or these temptations. And so, as I said, first thing is get rid of the fear and the doubt of making a mistake. I mean, the shame of making a mistake. Just be good with yourself in that sense as you would be with a friend. Be honest, but don't be too harsh to where you put yourself down, because you wouldn't do so with a friend as well. And a second thing, what I found to really help is in the moments when you catch yourself doing it, try to just pause in that moment. When you catch yourself spiraling or like the temptation is starting to pull you in, learn to just kind of take a breath, like really just take a breath in the moment, close your eyes, and pause. And you start to realize how your awareness becomes more present here, and you no longer feel so pulled in by the stream of the momentum that was going on, you know? You start to just feel present, just silent. And when you are in that state, you are able to then pause and realize, okay, this is kind of what's going on now. This old pattern. Now, I know this is not good for me and stuff too, or doesn't align with who I am now. What must I do? What must I do to not really fall into it? And most of the time, it really is just not reacting to it, not reacting to the pattern that requires you just to pause. It doesn't require you to do a bunch of other things and all of this stuff, but just really pause in that moment. See it. And just let it pass through. And this can be easier said than done, of course, I know. This is why it's also important, and I emphasize on this a lot, to have, let's say, a picture of your highest possible version of self. So having clarity on who are they, what do they do, how do they carry themselves, what habits do they have, all of these things. These are stuff that I speak about in my Operate OS framework too. It's important to have this understanding of who this version is, because when you find yourself then in this pattern of where you get into this loop, when you pause, you can instantly think, okay, this is the ideal version of me. This is what he would do right now. Instead of reacting to this and this, he would just pause, breathe, and decide to make this decision. Or to whatever it is, you know? And when you have that clarity, it allows you to escape that loop easier, because now you have more of a path in front of you that you know you're walking, whereas without one, it's like you're walking in a fog. You might get somewhere, but it's going to be more difficult to see where you're going compared to if you have more light on the path, or pretty much the version who's best for you, so that you can kind of hold on to them and jump into that version in that moment. Because this is all it's about. Every moment when you get tempted or you face a certain decision like this, it is all about what decision will you make. Will you choose the old pattern that you know is outdated, but you keep repeating it out of comfort? Or will you choose to step out of it and step into the new? The person who wouldn't do that and would behave themselves and operate differently. So when you start to see these moments as not a bad thing, but as opportunities to change, to keep going up, that is what gives you more power in those moments. Not where you didn't feel hopeless anymore, but you feel like you actually have control over it and you're surrendered. So third, I'd say it's most important, just don't focus so much on the outcome. Don't focus so much on you need to be this and this right now and be so rigid about it. Be present here and just enjoy the process. Enjoy the times you do fall, the steps you do make where you might, trip. Because those allow you to get better into flow and understand, okay, maybe I need to move this way instead so I don't fall. And with that over and over, you start to actually develop a sense of where you are stable with how you move and then also with who you are. And when you feel stable with who you are, you start to trust yourself more. And when you trust yourself more, then also you can do more. And with that, life will give you more. But it all starts from you, and it starts from what decision we choose. We choose the old that you know is outdated and doesn't serve you, or we take the initiative and choose the new and know that what you choose will define your reality. But either way, my friend, I hope you enjoyed this video here. And yeah, it's a interesting thing. I've been dealing with this stuff sometimes too, so I really share stuff I've went through myself and experienced, and that's why I can share it here with you. So I really enjoyed this here. So let me know down below too how you were able to take hold of this message. But either way, I hope you have a wonderful day, my friend. And as I said, if you want to see how you can step into a new version of you, and maybe you don't even know who that is and you still want to identify it, whatever part it is that you're at right now, if you want to develop into a newer version of you, the version of you that you find is just more fulfilled with things and isn't more of a elevated state, then down below you can find my link. I said, choose a fitting time for you, whatever works best, and there we can then see how we can apply my operator OS framework on you. I'll give you some clarity in that call, and then if it's a fit for both sides, then we can see how working together will look like from there. But either way, have a wonderful day, stay safe, and always remember, remain in truth. Much love, my friend.